Hey, welcome back to my channel Endless Pages. I'm Liv and welcome to today's video, which is a book unhaul. I believe this is the third unhaul that I've done. I will correct myself on screen if I'm wrong. I plan on hopefully popping a lot of these books that I'm unhauling today in little free libraries, and I also have right behind the camera a whole other tub of books that I previously unhauled in front of you guys that are still sitting in my bedroom. So yeah, I'm hoping most of these go into little free libraries. I'm wanting to do a little free library blog. I've been wanting to do it for so long, so that's where a lot of these are probably going to go, and the rest will be donated to libraries or chucked out if they're, you know, not in great condition. The first book I'm unhauling is Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. This is a classic. This is one that I am very sad to unhaul because I wanted to love it. I just couldn't deal with the writing style. I just didn't vibe with the writing style. I appreciate the message that it was trying to portray, the power of words and you know, the power of books and the meaning and strength that they bring to people. Really appreciate the message, love that. It was just the way that it was written that I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't understand it a lot of the time and I was quite bored with it. So yeah, I really appreciate what this book was trying to do. I couldn't deal with the writing style, and I definitely won't be giving it another attempt, so it's gonna go. I'm also kind of not that mad because the cover's like not that great anyway, so all good. And it looks like I didn't pay that much money for it, so it's fine. The next book is The Petrified Flesh by Cornelia Funke? I don't know. I think this is the first book in the Reckless series. Yeah, so you might have recognized this book or seen it on my channel recently because I just uploaded my new self-destruct video. I will link that somewhere on the screen as well. If you don't know, a self-destruct video is basically a list of how many books. Normally people do 10. I think I did 10 books of if you don't read them in the next 12 months after filming or making your list, then you have to unhaul them. So this was in my latest one, and I believe it was Paige from Pages with Paige commented about this book because I was like, yeah, it sounds really interesting, blah blah blah. Like, I did read the blurb and it did like catch my interest, and Paige said that this series is never going to be finished. The author has stated that they're not going to finish this series, and I'm like, why would I want to potentially fall in love and become obsessed with a series that I know is never going to end and I'm never going to get an end for? Like, I just feel like that's torturous to do to myself. It's basically about this boy. He discovers like a doorway into another world, and he goes and meets like a fox and all these magical creatures and goes on adventures, and then one day his like younger brother follows him into the mirror, and then his younger brother's like in danger and he has to go like save him. So it did sound really good, but I'm not going to start a series that is never going to end. Like, that sounds like a horrible idea. So sadly this one has to go. This one's a sad unhaul because I thought I'd like it, but I'm not doing that to myself. I've had it done to me many times while watching TV shows. I can't do it with books. Can't fall in love with something I know is not going to end. So Paige, thank you so much for letting me know about this. You're a real one. You're a legend. Thank you. Next up we have The Scorched Trials by James Dashner. I don't know where this came from. I had no idea that I ever owned this. This is like the second book in the Maze Runner series. I don't ever remember owning this, but it can only be mine. There's no one else in this house who would have this book, so it's got to be mine. I just don't ever remember like purchasing this or asking my parents to purchase it. Probably more likely at the time I was reading this series. I don't know. I could check my Goodreads. I don't know if I ever actually read this or not. Even if I haven't, I don't plan on reading it now. Honestly, is this a controversial opinion? I kind of enjoyed the movies more. Is that like a trash opinion? Okay, it hasn't been marked on my Goodreads, and honestly neither has the first book, Maze Runner. I believe I read Maze Runner. I can't even remember now. That was kind of before I had Goodreads, but yeah, I have no interest in reading this, and it's very old and in very poor condition, so this one's got to go. Next up is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I feel like this one's a bit controversial. This is a pretty loved book that I did not like. I think I gave this like 3 stars. So this is like a thriller about this woman who like shoots her husband like 6 times in the head. and she like hasn't spoken a word since, and this psychologist goes to like get to know her and figure out like why she killed her husband. I found this book very boring. I agree with the comments made about how women are spoken about in this book, and the language used about women was just really unnecessary and off-putting. I found it was really boring. I will admit the ending like did have me shook, and like I appreciated the ending, and I think that's the only reason that it was 3 stars rather than 2, because I liked the ending. I just feel like the other like, how many pages in this book? The other like 200 pages were like just garbage, boring. I hated it, and I was like, it didn't feel worth it for the ending, like reading all the 200 pages. So that's why I've rated it 3 stars. I pretty much have decided to unhaul anything 3 stars and under, so I will not be attempting this book again, and I really kind of don't understand the hype of this book, so goodbye Silent Patient. Book number 5 and 6 are kind of tentative unhauls. I don't know, I'm really conflicted about these ones. So it is Laura Olympics Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Rachel Smith. This is based off the webtoon. It's like a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I think I rated this like 4 stars. You know how you read a book and like months later you think about it and you're like, actually, I don't agree with that rating anymore. I feel like I want to bring that rating down. I think the reason I really liked this was just purely because of like the art style, like the colors. I was about to say the colors are gorgeous, and I pick a page with like no colors on it. Like the colors are gorgeous, and like the illustrations are so cool. But now that I think about it, was I like really bored in this book? Like really bored? Like now that I think about it, didn't anything happen in Volume 1? I understand that it is a webtoon and there's a lot of volumes, so obviously, you know, not every volume is going to be action packed, but I don't remember like much happening, and now that I think about it, I maybe didn't like it as much as I remember. So apparently I did give this 4 stars according to my Goodreads, but I feel like I'm going to pull that down to a 3. I think the reason I'm umming and ahhing about unhauling these is because of the price I would have paid for both of these, and I literally got this one this year, Volume 2, and yeah, the art style is absolutely gorgeous, and I think that's one of the 2 reasons why I'm reluctant to unhaul. But I literally haven't thought about this since I purchased it, and I've had not a single urge to pick it up, which I think is telling me all that I need to know. So let me know in the comments your opinions, but I'm leaning towards unhaul, even though these are like, they're stunning, but did I actually like it, or did I like the art style, and did I like the hype? And if I haven't thought about it since I purchased it, am I really wanting to pick it up, or do I want to pick it up? Next up is All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. So disappointed that I didn't like this book. I read this book earlier this year. We follow, what's her name? Amora, that's right. She's like a princess, and all her life she's been training to be a high animator, which is like a master of souls, like her magic type. And then she has to give a demonstration. It goes horribly wrong. And she is forced to enlist the help of this pirate called Bastian, is that his name? Yeah. And they kind of come to an agreement. He'll help her kind of clear her name. Prove she's fit to rule. And then she'll help him reclaim the stolen magic. You think I haven't read this book, but I have. Anyway, yeah. I really wanted to like this book. Some elements I did like was the cute kind of found family vibe that was going on later in the book. I just felt maybe it was a bit too insta-love for me, not enough, because it's like enemies to lovers, but they're like enemies for like 5 whole minutes before they become like interested in each other. I just felt like this whole book was mediocre. The writing, the love story, I'm not normally one who's able to predict events in books. Like I don't have that skill, but in this book I was finding events were predictable, and if I think they're predictable, then you know that's not a good sign. So I won't be continuing on. I think this is a duology. I won't be continuing on with this though I do want to give this author a second chance. I think she wrote that new one, Belladonna. So I want to give the author a second chance. I will be borrowing that from the library, not purchasing it, but yeah. very mediocre. We have The Agathas by Kathleen Glasgow and Liz Lawson. I won't talk about this one too much because I have ranted about this book a lot on my channel, and if you've watched my other videos, you're probably sick of hearing me talk about this book. This is like a YA, I don't know, would you call it a thriller, YA mystery investigation kind of book. And it's about these two girls, and one of them's inspired by the writing of Agatha Christie. There's this girl that's kind of gone missing in their town, and the girl dated one of the main characters' exes. Anyway, that's a shit explanation, but yeah. These girls think that they're investigators, and they just go around and stir trouble in the town, make enemies of really aggressive people, do little to none of investigating. Like, their investigation skills are pretty shit. And I just felt like the writing was so YA, so mediocre, so bad. Like, this book was bad. I hated every second of it. I hate Reddit. If you want to see my full thoughts about it, I did a end of year reading vlog to reach my reading goal at the end of last year, and I couldn't DNF this book because of that vlog, and because I was, you know, a day away from the year ending, so I needed it to count for my book total. But yeah, this is shit. This is really sad book. It's not sad like as in sad, but sad as in how bad it is. That's all I've got to say. This book sucked. Absolutely sucked. I know that there's a sequel in the works because they left it very open-ended, but I would rather shoot myself in the foot than continue on with these characters. Next book, I'm so sad to unhaul just because, like, how beautiful the cover is. Like, this is the most beautiful cover I've ever seen. That is If You Could See the Sun by Anne Liang. This is a, what is it? Academic rivals to lovers trope. We follow Alice, who is a student at this Chinese boarding school, and the students who go to this school are like China's most rich and influential, and she's not rich like all the other students there, so she's there on a scholarship. And one day she actually just turns invisible and discovers she has this ability to turn invisible. And she starts using that ability to spy on her classmates for other classmates for money so she can pay to stay at that school because her parents can no longer afford it. Yeah, so that's the basic premise. I was really let down by this book. The one irk I had with it was mainly the miscommunication. I feel like so much of the unnecessary drama could have been avoided if the characters just had have like communicated and spoke to one another. I know that the miscommunication is a purposeful trope, but it's one that I cannot stand. I feel like all of this book would have been fixed if they just communicated like normal human beings. So I just couldn't get over the scene after scene of oh my god, he hates me because of miscommunication, and oh my god, he's so like this and so like that, and I can't stand him, and it was resolved obviously, but I couldn't stand reading that, and I gave this 3.5 stars, which I think I was being quite generous with that rating. I could not stand the miscommunication in this book, and the book overall just felt a little bit flat for me. So I'm so sad because this book is beautiful. I hope someone else can appreciate this absolutely stunning cover and actually enjoy the book. Another book I'm kind of sad to unhaul because of the cover is Law by Alexander Bracken. Like, this is a gorgeous hard cover, which God knows how much I would have paid for this one. This is like inspired by Greek mythology, and I don't know how many pages I got into it. I don't even know if I got 100 pages into this book before I soft DNF'd it and then never wanted to pick it up again. Decided, nope, that's not a soft, that's a hard DNF. I don't think I've ever read a book where I've struggled as much as I have in this one to connect to a single character in this book. I just couldn't sympathize with any of them, and I think I was meant to. They gave a bit of backstory into the main character about how she ends up in the situation she's in and why her life looks like it does, and I just could not feel sorry for any of them. I could not connect to a single one. None of them had traits that I liked, or, you know, even like slightly liked. I could not connect with any of them, and if you're not connecting with characters, you know, you're not going to enjoy the book. And then the other thing that I didn't like about this book was you kind of get thrown into the plot. I mean, it's very, very confusing. They do give you like a breakdown at the start of the different families, what like god they're linked to, and their symbols and stuff like that. But even with that at the start that I kept flicking to, I was so confused. They were dropping names right at the start and I had no idea who was who, and I was very, very confused. And I really, really was hating this book. I think, I can't remember if I said to myself, at least make it to like 100 pages before you DNF. But I think I remember getting to something, I don't know, like 60 or something, and like literally slamming the book shut, being like, this is torture. I'm torturing myself by trying to get to 100 pages. So, I haven't thought about this since I shut the book for the final time. And, yeah, I don't see this, my opinion on this book changing as I read more of it. I really, really don't. So I don't even know what the plot is to describe it to you, to be honest. Some weird plot that I can't be bothered remembering now. But yeah, disappointing, and disappointing because, wow, look at this cover. So, so cool. Next up is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. Don't panic. Don't you worry. I'm not unhauling this beautiful book without a good reason. I read this earlier this year. It is now one of my favourite books of the year. Maybe one of my favourite books ever. So don't worry, it's getting unhauled for a good reason. I got this copy years ago. It's in very bad nick. It's very discoloured. And I went to buy the sequel recently, which is The Well of Ascension. And the editions have changed. These ones don't... I mean, they kind of match, but they don't really match, and I'm stupid, so I'm like, I want completely matching one. So, I'm unhauling this because I would like to get the newer cover that suits this. You know what really annoys me? This one has a border, the newer one, and the old one doesn't. So, I'm going to get a new edition of this, so don't worry. This is getting unhauled for good reason. Then we have An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. Oh, man, I wanted to love this one because I love Hank Green. This is a book about basically being an influencer. We have our main character, whose name I can never remember. Why do I suck at remembering characters' names? April, that's right. April was walking one night in New York City, that's right, at like 3 a.m, or one morning I should say, and she discovers this giant statue that looks like a giant samurai. And she films it and uploads it to YouTube, and the next morning discovers that these statues have popped up in major cities across the world and that it is aliens, and she has been the first person to capture and film an interaction with one of these alien statues. So I thought the premise was really interesting. The thing is, I can appreciate the commentary that this book was making. It's a big commentary on being an influencer, and the kind of life that comes with that, and the way, I guess, the power can, I don't know, the power and the overnight success and overnight fame that comes with going viral can have on you and have on your relationships. And it was great commentary around that, but I think it was too much commentary, that I felt like in some parts that I wasn't reading a fiction novel anymore. I was reading like a non-fiction or like a commentary. So I couldn't stand that. I feel like I was reading an essay or something rather than a novel. So I really appreciate the points that it was making, and I think obviously that was very well written, because come on, it's Hank Green, but it just completely took over the book for me, that I was like, do I want to be lectured at reading, like, or do I want to read a fiction book where the message is, you know, skillfully written into the plot? Like, obviously, if I'm reading a book, I want to be learning something, or, you know, developing my social, like, understanding of social issues, but, you know, there's plenty of fiction books that it's written in so well to the plot where you don't have to write it like almost like an essay. If that makes sense, I don't know. Obviously, Hank Green is a million times smarter than me, probably 10 million times smarter than me, and the bits where he was making commentary were very well written, but it still felt like I was getting like, I was reading an essay, or I was getting lectured to rather than reading a story. I don't know if that makes sense, but that was my thought on this book. So I won't be continuing on with the series, and yeah, it was disappointing that I didn't like a Hank Green book, because It's Hank Green, come on. Then we have the Heartstopper Yearbook by Alice Osman. Again, I won't go on about this too much because again, this was one of the books I read for my scramble to get to my reading goal at the end of last year vlog that I linked earlier. This felt like the biggest money grab that a publishing company just went to Alice and said, we need to pump out something now and get some money out of those Heartstopper fans. So I feel like there was little to no original content, stuff I could have just googled myself, and I felt absolutely scammed by this book. So that is why it's being unhauled. Then we have Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Ooh, I don't even think I got past 20 pages of this book. I think this is a book about, I think it's a contemporary, it's about mental health. Yeah, I don't think I got past page 20. The writing was so weird. What was happening in the book, I remember, I can't remember specifics now because it was a couple of months ago I picked this up, but I remember being really uncomfortable and weirded out. I just felt like this was one of the weirdest things I've ever read, and I did hear some people say, oh, the second half is like better, but I don't think I could get to like, I don't think I could make it through like, you know, 200-ish pages for it to get good. I don't think I should have to wait 200 pages for a book to get good, you know? I just feel like it was so weird, and I really don't understand the hype of this book. Nor will I ever give it another chance. So it's being unhauled. Next is another disappointing unhaul because of the cover is Girl Separate Thorn by Melissa Bashadaust. I think that's how you say that. This is about like a princess and she's like poisonous to the touch. Yes. Then there's this young man that like isn't afraid of her, and I think they start to discover the secrets about like how she like got her powers. Is she more human or more monster? This was also on not my current self-destruct list, but my previous self-destruct list that just wrapped up a couple of months ago. I don't know how far into this book I got, I cannot remember, but I found it very insta-love, very cringy, way too YA, which is disappointing because I know a lot of people do love this book. I just couldn't see the hype, and I was kind of rolling my eyes as I was reading it, and if I'm rolling my eyes, then, you know, I think it's time to put the book down. So yeah, disappointing because like I love the cover with like the white snake. I think that's really cool. It's like a simple but really pretty cover. So yeah, a little too YA for my liking. The next two I'm going to do together, we have Our Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong. This is a duology, a Romeo and Juliet retelling. I really enjoyed the first one. I remember really enjoying it. I enjoyed the kind of enemies to lovers. I enjoyed the setting of 1920s Shanghai, kind of gangster. I really enjoyed that. And then I read Our Violent Ends, and it, honestly, in my mind, I don't know if this is a crazy opinion, felt like just a repeat of the first book. I feel like there was not a lot that set it apart from the first one. I was like, this is just so repetitious. Like, what's the difference between these two books? I know it's a series, but yeah, it just felt like I was reading this book over again. And I can, the ending obviously set it apart from this book. I kind of liked the ending, but by the time I got to the ending, I was so over this book that I was just like, it just kind of deflated the ending for me because I just wasn't enjoying the book the whole time. And I just, because of the second book, I don't think I'll ever have the urge to pick this book up again, even though I'm pretty sure I rated this 4 stars and I enjoyed it, but this just put a sour taste in my mouth for the whole series. So yeah, I'm gonna get rid of these two beautiful books. Also, I got covers that didn't match, so like these covers are really pretty, but yeah, so that's why these Violent Delights and these Violent Ends are going. Just, the first one was really cool, but the second one just ruined the whole series for me, and I'll never reread this anyway. So I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but I am. The last 2 books on my unhaul list for this video are Holly Jackson books. Can you believe that? So if you've watched any of my videos before, you know the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, trilogy I should say, by Holly Jackson is one of my favourite trilogies, books, series ever. Like, I'm obsessed with it. I actually want to do a reread soon. But yeah, so in saying that, I'm about to unhaul 2 Holly Jackson books. I cannot believe it. I'm so mad. I'm smiling, but I'm mad. So the first one is Killjoy by Holly Jackson. This is like a prequel to the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. This was shit. This is basically a dinner party with Pip, who is the main character from the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, and her friendship group. They do one of those, like, you know, those murder mystery parties where, like, you each, like, pick a character and you have to figure out who the murderer is amongst you all. So they do that for one of their friends' birthdays, and it's so cringy. One of the cringiest things I've ever read. Pip's friendship group, it's not really a spoiler, aren't really a massive part of the Good Girls Guide to Murder trilogy. As the series goes on, they become less and less of a part of it, and I'm really glad after reading this that they don't have a major role, because it's a cringy group. This felt incredibly unnecessary, and I feel like this is kind of meant to, I don't feel like, it is meant to set up the motivation of how she got the inspiration about what to do for her final project in the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, and I feel like it's a shit motivation, and I'm pretending that this doesn't exist and that I didn't read the motivation in that book. That is not canon. So disappointing. It was shit. And then the second one, I can't believe I'm going to say this, 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. This is her latest book. So this went viral when it came out, and I was so excited when it came out. Went viral on TikTok. Every TikTok girly was like, read 5 Survive with me. Like, we're going to read it in a couple of hours. I flew through it. It was so fast paced. No, this book was not fast paced. This is about a group of like 6 friends that are going on like a road trip in an RV, and the RV like breaks down, and lo and behold, it's probably not an accident that the RV shut down, and there's a sniper out there in the dark trying to take them out. So you think it would be really fast paced and fun and action packed, and it just wasn't. I feel like it was very, very, like, it was much longer than it needed to be, because like all of this was just boring, and it wasn't until the last like 100 or so pages where the pace really started, you know, sped up. This book is like taking the words out of my mouth. I'm that mad at it. And I understand you've got to build up, you know, some tension. You've got to get to know the characters a bit, and there's always going to be a fun, action-packed, fast ending to a thriller. That's what makes them fun. But just, again, don't think it was worth, like Silent Patient, like it wasn't worth it, the rest of the book. Yes, the secrets that were revealed at the end did have me a little bit shook, and I will admit, I did tear up at the kind of ending and like the aftermath of it. I did tear up. That got me emotionally, and I appreciated the kind of dealing with a little bit of the trauma in one of the characters' past. I can appreciate that. But this was such a big letdown, and I was reading this book and I was like almost psychologically trying to tell myself that I was enjoying it. I was like, no, you're enjoying this. I was like, no, I'm not enjoying this. So I appreciated the ending. I appreciated the reveal of who the sniper was. I didn't see that coming, so that was pretty cool. I appreciated the emotional ending, and I just so sad that my final 2 books are Holly Jackson books. I feel like I have betrayed her. I've betrayed her. So that was my 20 book haul, if I'm counting correctly. I'm really proud of myself. Some of these I was really umming and ahhing about, but I think I was semi-ruthless in my unhaul. Now that I have decided these books are going to go, I will have a whole extra row on my book cart to fill up with books that I actually do love and I'm actually going to enjoy. So these are going to go to a better home, hopefully. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about Lore Olympics? Should I chuck that one out? Let me know if you've read any of the books in my list. What did you think of them? And have you unhauled any books recently? Let me know what those ones are. Thank you so much again for watching. I hope you enjoyed. As always, all my social media links are in the description below. Like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you'd like to see more of my content, and I'll see you in whatever the hell I post next. Goodbye!